Nowadays, there are a surprisingly high number of people who think they can own a dog without training them. The houses with untrained dogs tend to be chaotic and unhappy. There are people walking around and screaming at the dog to do something, and the dog is completely confused because they don't know what the people are saying or what to do now that they are yelling at them. What the people in these houses need to learn is that in order for the dog to become the wonderful companion that they wanted, they need to train the dog. Luckily, it's fairly easy to train a dog, given you have the determination, will, and patience. Here today, I'm going to show you how to pick the proper materials for training your dog, and to teach your dog to sit, stay, and come. There are different materials that the dog owner needs to use. These materials are the collars, the leashes, and the treats. For the collars, there are a wide variety of different ones that can be used. For instance, there is the normal, everyday collar. This is known as a choke chain. It is used for sharp adjustments when training the dog. To put that on, you push the chain through one loop, and then you put it on with the chain going up and to the left. When the dog does something that needs a little correction, you give it a sharp jerk. It doesn't hurt the dog, but it helps them along. This is known as a choker collar. Although it looks a bit vicious and painful, it's used to stop the dog from pulling when on a walk or something of that sort. It's just slipped over the head, and when the dog pulls, it jerks in and tends to choke them, as says the name. To take it off, you unclip the chains and it comes apart, and then goes right back together. This is known as a head halter or a gentle leader. It also stops the dog from pulling during a walk, but instead of choking the dog, it pulls the head to the side and backwards, forcing them to turn. To put this on, you take this loop thing up from the bottom, put it over their muzzle, and attach the clip around their head. Now, when the dog pulls, they will be pulled to the side and backwards, and they will have to stop pulling in order to right their head. The last collar is known as a harness. It is put around the dog so that the dog does not put all of the weight on the neck. This part is on the back, while it goes in front of the chest, and this under the legs. That way, when the dog pulls, the weight is divided evenly across the chest, and it does not harm the dog at all. These are the leashes. This is the walking leash, and this is the training leash. The difference between the two is the walking leash is the one that I use on walks, and the dog understands that that's what this is for. However, the training leash is not used for walks, and the dog knows that we're doing something that does not mean he needs to get all excited. It helps keep the dog under control. This is a lead. Basically, it's just a long rope. The lead is used when letting the dog wander away, but still having control over the dog. For treats and praise, either real food, biscuits, toys, or verbal praise can be used. The real food works very well, but the dog then ends up eating real food and might not obey you if you don't have food. The biscuits also work well. It's not as good as food, but the dogs still like to eat it. For toys, they can get distracted sometimes, but if a dog has a favorite toy, then this can be an excellent reward. Also, verbal and physical praise can be used. If that's used, it needs to be used in excess. Be very happy when giving such praise, and the dog will learn to obey without having to eat. This is how you praise a dog if you're not using food or a treat. Good boy. Good buddy. Good boy, buddy. One of the most basic commands a trainer can teach their dog is to sit. Buddy here knows how to sit fairly well, so in order to show you how to do this, I'm going to have my assistant hold him up for the time being. When you first start training the dog to sit, first you need to have them standing in front of you. Then you need to show them the treat you have to get their attention. If you're not using a treat, then make them think you have a treat in your hand. Then, as you go, you raise the treat above their heads. As their head goes up, the bottom will go down, like so. Good boy. Good buddy. Good boy, buddy. Now, if instead of a dog that sits when the treat goes up, you have a dog that backs up to keep the treat in sight, you may need to put something behind him, like a hand or a wall, and then proceed normally. Good boy, buddy. Good boy. Good buddy. Once the dog learns the basic motion of sitting, you can add a hand command to it. And from that hand command, add vocal cues and whistles if you would like. Like this. Buddy? Good boy. Good buddy. Good boy. Stay and come are two commands that go hand in hand. Dogs are pack animals, and puppies especially don't like being away from their masters and everyone else in their pack. Using this, you can make coming as a reward to the dog. It's good to teach the dog how to come in an open field with nobody in it so that there's distractions for the dog, but you can still get their attention. Because it's raining outside, we will be showing how to teach come indoors. Now, he's not paying any attention to me right now. Really. But to get him to come, I'll show him the treat and be very happy when I call him to me. Buddy, come here. Come here, buddy. Good boy. Good buddy. He may not know what come means, but since I was very happy, he was much happier to come to me, and it makes coming a reward. Using this idea as a reward can then help when teaching the dog how to stay, too. The first thing to have the dog to do when teaching him to stay is to sit. Once he sits in front of you, sit. Trainer needs to hold their hand, palm out in front of his nose, and say, stay. Buddy, stay. And take one step back and congratulate him. Good boy, buddy. Good buddy. Good boy, buddy. Attaboy. One step may not seem like much, but it's important that the dog knows what it feels like to be successful at the trick, so that he knows that is what he needs to continue on doing. Buddy, sit. Stay. Now we'll increase the distance just a little bit. Good boy, buddy. Come here. Good boy. And as the distance grows, you need to also increase the time that he needs to stay. Buddy. Soda. Once an owner learns how to train their dog, the bond between them becomes much stronger. The person isn't so frustrated because the dog doesn't know what they're trying to do, and the dog isn't so confused because there aren't a bunch of people yelling at them. Once the owner can teach the dog the basic commands, they can move on to more complicated ones. They can even teach ones they've seen on TV. Hey, buddy! Like how to fetch a soda. Good boy. Good buddy. As the bond between the dog and the owner grow, so does the enjoyment that the dog can bring to the family. A well-trained dog can bring lots of happiness and bring out the full potential of owning a dog.